Welcome to the College of Global Futures Motor Explorer event. The College of Global Futures is new to Arizona State University. It just launched this summer. It's comprised of three schools: the School for the Future of Innovation and Society, School of Sustainability, and the School for Complex Adaptive Systems. I'll be giving this introduction here, and our alumni guest is, of course, Alexia Bednar. I'm a graduate from the School of Sustainability itself in 2008 and now teach some of the study abroad courses. Alexia has a beautiful, rich international background as well, that she maybe have a chance to talk about. But what we're going to be looking at now is making an impact, real-world careers in sustainability. I'm going to introduce Alexia. She's a community advocate. She works currently at the Corporate Sustainability Department at Uhaul International. And at this moment, I'd like to just turn this over to Alexia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. And thank you for that lovely introduction, Bridget. So yeah, as it was mentioned, my official title is Community Advocate, and I work on the Corporate Sustainability Department for Uhaul International. Now, you may know Uhaul for truck and trailer sharing. They're also known for self-storage, and they service all of the US and even Canada, so they are internationally. Their headquarters is based in Phoenix, Arizona, and that's where I work. So I thought I would start off by providing a little bit of extra background information on myself. I was born and raised in Phoenix, so getting a job here was perfect for me. My family was located here. I have pretty much grown up in a downtown urban environment in Phoenix my whole life, and now I have a cute little historic home in the downtown Phoenix area with my husband and my dog as pictured there. Some of my hobbies include hiking, camping, kayaking. I love to urban farm and garden, as we'll talk about later. And I also like to ride motorcycles. So my ASU journey started in 2008 after I graduated high school. I actually was accepted into the W.P. Carey School of Business, which was very prestigious. And a few months before school was slated to start, I got a phone call. The W.P. Carey School of Business was letting me know they were introducing a few certificates to their programs, one of which was a certificate in sustainability. So my mom was the one who mentioned, sustainability is the future. You should really look into this. And I kind of appeased her and said, all right, I'll do a certificate in sustainability. It wasn't actually until my sophomore year that I got to take my first sustainability course. That was SOS 110. Sustainable World. I don't know if it's still called that, but I really got my first introduction with sustainability and immediately was drawn to it and knew this is what I wanted to see in the future. This is where I wanted the world to head and where I wanted my career to go. So I actually joined the School of Sustainability in my sophomore year. And then I thought I would highlight some influential classes, things that stuck out in my college career as interesting or helpful in me finding purpose. So ALA 100, that was actually a design course, which ended up becoming my minor. Design studies was my minor. And it was really interesting how it just got my mind thinking about sustainable solutions, creative thinking, and systems. And Introduction to Urban Planning, as well as Sustainable Urbanism. Those both appealed to me just because I grew up in an urban environment. And I did eventually end up choosing a course of Urban Dynamics for sustainability, so very appropriate. GRA, Finding Purpose. That was just an interesting course that had to do with philosophy and design, and it reinsured that I was on the right track with sustainability. It's just a very fun elective course that I definitely encourage everyone to take. And then SOS 484, the capstone internship class. I'll go into that in a little more detail down the line, but it was very influential internship and how it shaped my early steps of my career. And then clubs, volunteering, that was something that popped up throughout my career at ASU, and I took every opportunity to get involved. So back then, there was a club called Green Team. I believe it has a new name now, maybe Campus Sustainability Solutions or something to that effect. It got me involved with all sorts of different event planning and other clubs on campus, so got me very plugged in. It was great for networking. And then I had opportunities to go volunteer and meet additional fellow ASU school sustainability people, as well as sometimes professors would be at these events. And networking, I find that to be very helpful once you get past graduation and you're trying to get your footing in your career. So any opportunity, I encourage you guys to get involved. Internships, I always say start these as early as you possibly can. Usually sophomore year is a good time to start thinking about that. My first internships were actually in my junior year, and I wish I had gotten started earlier. So my first one was at Audubon, Arizona, and that was a marketing and promotions internship, but it did relate to the environment and getting the communities in the downtown Phoenix area involved and connected with nature and the events that Audubon, Arizona was putting on. So again, influential. Then down the line in my capstone, for my capstone class, I tried to join a City of Phoenix internship, and I will go into that a little more detail later. And then actually my career at Uhaul started with an internship. So internships are invaluable. So that capstone class, it encouraged me to apply for a very competitive internship that, you know, I honestly wasn't very confident about getting. And I got 2 interviews for this internship. And on the second one, they actually turned me down very gracefully. But then they said, but we have actually formulated another internship that we believe is better suited towards your degree and your future goals. And that was with the mayor's office. At the time, the mayor was Greg Stanton, and I worked with Colin Tetrault, who is a school sustainability professional. He was the policy advisor to the mayor. So we worked on a lot of land use strategy. The City of Phoenix had a lot of vacant land at the time, and we were trying to figure out how to activate those spaces to better serve communities and better serve the city and create more revenue. And I did graduate in 2013. The economy was just coming out of a recession at the time. So I actually was just working a generic minimum wage job until I found an internship with Uhaul and the sustainability department. And I didn't have a lot of job opportunities at the time, so I was happy to apply for that internship. And of course, that evolved. So starting as an intern, I worked for about 1.5 years as an intern. I got hired on full time. They thought I was doing an outstanding job, which is, you know, a great opportunity. A lot of times I hear that internships do end up turning into full-time positions, so I definitely recommend. But I got hired on as a project coordinator. I did that for 2 years. I worked on a lot of sustainability related projects for the thousands of locations that Uhaul owns. We worked on everything from energy efficient lighting upgrades to energy efficient windows and doors. We just run the gamut with the sustainability projects. And then after 2 years of doing that position as a project coordinator, I got hired to do something called a community advocate. This was a new position to sustainability and Uhaul. And it was kind of founded out of seeing an opportunity to do more sustainability projects that had not previously been done. And we will go into those, I think, on the next slide. Once I was hired on as a community advocate, I definitely got to get my feet wet with event planning that included the community. Up in that upper right-hand corner there, there's Bike to Work Day. That was a day we celebrated nationally, where our whole company was encouraged to bike from work from home. And we just celebrate the culture of biking to work. We do a group ride together and a breakfast, and it's really fun. And it also benefits, you know, the health of our employees, as well as celebrating offsetting emissions and doing good things for the environment. The lower left-hand corner, you see a picture of something we founded called the Midtown Farmers Market, and that was at our headquarters in Phoenix. And we invited the communities around us to come participate. We'd have anywhere from 15 to 30 local vendors. They were handpicked to make sure that they were using organic and humane growing and farming practices. And then my favorite part about that event, to really tie in the community aspect, was that 10% of every dollar our team members spent there actually went to a rotating partner nonprofit. So it was a great event that benefited the community and the health and well-being of our team members. I've had the opportunity to work on so many different programs while at Uhaul, but just to highlight that other picture there, that's an energy efficient LED lighting project in our parking garage. but I also get to work on a lot of waste diversion throughout the entire company. So we're big on recycling boxes. I've started several recycling programs at the Midtown campus, and pictured there is like a water bottle reduction program. But yeah, essentially I've gotten to focus on the last year a lot of waste diversion strategies in the corporate environment. One of my main programs that I help manage and takes up a lot of my time is an adaptive reuse cataloging program. So pictured there is an example of what adaptive reuse is. It's when you take an existing building and rather than demolishing it and creating a lot of waste that goes to the landfill, you actually take that existing building and you adapt it to meet your needs. And in that process, you end up saving a lot of resources, even fiscal, financial resources, and you can reinvest those into the property to a lot of times do sustainability related items. So we've done everything from permeable ground cover, which is when rainwater can re-enter the ground surface and recharge water sources. We've also done solar at one site. We have done energy efficient windows and doors, and I think I've mentioned several times energy efficient lighting. We do drought tolerant landscaping, but we have that opportunity because we do adaptive reuse projects, and over 70% of our Uhaul locations are adaptive reuse. And as pictured there, we have an old theater, the Beverly Theater. You can see it still has some historical elements. Not much has changed besides kind of some imaging. We get to work with a lot of unique historical sites that are very important to the community. So I think it's great that we can keep those landmarks there, preserved, and invest in them for future generations. This is an example of an environmental impact decal that we create. So you might go into a Uhaul location and see one of these posted, but essentially our Chief Sustainability Scientist, Dr. Alan Yang, compiles these numbers based on the diversion of materials that we experience by reusing a building, by doing adaptive reuse. And while I don't formulate those numbers, I do help catalog them all so I can see what the overall picture of our diversion looks like. You can see there that obviously when you reuse a building, you don't formulate waste in terms of steel and concrete, and you're saving emissions because you're not carting a bunch of new materials to the site or pouring concrete. But yeah, just a nice little example of everything that adaptive reuse entails. And then sustainability for me personally doesn't just stop at my 9-to-5 career, my day in and day out. It's in my personal life as well. So there's a picture there of my garden and some peaches, and those are all things that I've grown. So that sustainable food and farms class definitely stuck with me. You know, I have 23 fruiting trees and shrubs in my backyard. Some people kind of call it a budding food forest. And once I've eaten as much as I can and I share that with neighbors and friends, I actually get to take those local foods to the downtown Phoenix public market and share it with the community there. Also, there's living in a historic neighborhood. We do a fun local event called a historic home tour. And I actually approached them about, you know, some things they could be doing in regards to sustainability, just nicely approached them, and they loved that idea. So now there's an official sustainability coordinator on their team, and they divert a lot of commute by bicycle, and they're always coming up with new initiatives, which is great. So it goes beyond myself. You know, when I put my efforts into my personal life, I just see that expand upon itself so much. And this is my contact information. Just taking a look here to see if there were any questions. I don't see any thus far, but please feel free to type something in there. This is my contact information. Maybe you don't feel comfortable right now, but please feel free to email me, message me, or direct message me even on a social media platform like Instagram. I am happy to help answer some questions about life at ASU or life after graduation.
Alexia, I have a question, if I can
Sure.
verbally shout it out. You talked about how you organized a farmer's market for Uhaul employees, and it helped the community being able to sell sustainable goods. And you said that 10% of all the proceeds that were raised went to nonprofits. What were some of the nonprofits that benefited from that?
Absolutely. So we do rotate them, but we've served made donations to everyone from St. Vincent's de Paul St. Mary's Food Bank, Humble Design, American Cancer Society. So certainly some larger organizations and some local ones, but Uhaul specifically likes to focus their donations on nonprofits that help feed, clothe, and shelter the homeless, though, sometimes that does vary.
Okay, and we have a question saying, how does working for a corporation like Uhaul drive your sustainability career?
I think that Uhaul, being that they're international, I feel like really make an impact. So to me, it's work that is really meaningful. And Uhaul specifically, working for them, I found that they've been very receptive to new ideas and initiatives. Sometimes you have to practice persistence and patience with some of your ideas, but when it's really a really solid idea, being in that you believe in the private aspect, that it saves money for the company, that it does good by the communities that that business serves, and of course does well by the environment. I think companies are receptive to that. So be patient and persistent, and thankfully Uhaul has been, and they've been open to my ideas as I approach them.
And there's another question in the Q&A. What's the most meaningful skill experience you learned while at ASU?
There's a couple different things. I think I learned a lot from working in a group setting. Sometimes people cringe a little bit when they get those group projects, but that's very much like working in the real world. I mean, you're always working with a team, your coworkers, or the community if you're working in your personal life on projects. And so, learning how to work with others well, whether that's being a leader or taking a back seat. And also, I feel that the opportunity that ASU helped me get several internships that, sometimes it would be a matter of a class and they would have a list of employers who already had internships specifically for ASU students. So that was valuable. Or sometimes it would be a matter of applying for an internship and them seeing that I went to ASU and being kind of wowed by that, and it would open doors.
Awesome. We have some more questions rolling in for you. So thinking back on the fact that you've lived in Phoenix and you've been working with lots of businesses through your work at Uhaul, you're working with other businesses in the city. What is Phoenix like for pursuing a career in sustainability?
Great question. I think it's budding. Phoenix in particular, people like to call it a young city or a more modern city. We just don't quite have the history that a lot of other cities do. But in that same facet, I've seen the last 10 years, the urban downtown area just explode with development and headquarters of different companies. So there's a lot of opportunity to get in on the ground floor of urban development and large corporations and make sure that there's a sustainability voice and there's a large impact there. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and there will continue to be.
And we have another question coming in from Dorothy. What is it like working for the local government?
That's also a great question. Phoenix was like a well-oiled machine. I found that a lot of people who work for the city of Phoenix have worked there for a very long time. So they're good at what they do. They're very passionate. And I found it very fulfilling to be a public servant. I know I found my way into a corporate setting, but definitely in being a public servant and working for a municipality was very fulfilling. Again, I think there's a lot of opportunity to do good there and a lot of opportunity for young, insightful new voices as well.
And we have a question coming in through chat. Thinking of your transdisciplinary studies that you had at the College of Global Futures, looking at that and then also thinking of the work that you've been given at Uhaul, the variety of it as a community advocate, helping with the energy efficiency and the grants and adaptive reuse. What types of jobs are for someone with a sustainability degree?
Oh my goodness. I think it's an old saying, but I think the world is your oyster. The more, even if they don't exist yet, there is opportunity out there. For instance, my title as a community advocate, that position literally did not exist when I was hired on at Uhaul. I was the voice that kind of made that happen. And thankfully they gave me the opportunity to, but there are plenty of opportunities in the corporate world. There's opportunities. I've heard of great programs, even in small businesses and startups. They're embracing sustainability. There's even internships with those smaller companies, which I think is amazing. Certainly it's integrated into municipalities due to kind of regulations changing, whether that's on a state or federal level. The communities are demanding more sustainability goals and practices. And so there's an opportunity there. I really think it can be integrated into everything a city does. And to give you an example, in my personal life, we have this canal in Phoenix called the Grand Canal, and it belongs to the community. On a federal level, it's in writing that it belongs to the community, but it's not utilized to connect communities or to be an alternative transportation route, though it has the potential to be. So I'm going to be hosting a mural festival along with a few partners in the spring of 2021 to put murals along the canal, activate that space, connect communities, help with wayfinding. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is, if you have an idea and it doesn't exist yet, just go for it. Just be the change you want to see in the world. And I really think it can be applied to anything.
And I would like to augment that for a moment, and then we'll go to another question that's come in. I was a student at the School of Sustainability as well, and in April of 2008 was asked to do 8 weeks of research for Uhaul as an intern. So I thought, okay, I'll have a job for 8 weeks and do some research on carbon sequestration. It turns out that Uhaul wanted to create a program of sequestering carbon because the moving industry puts up a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. So the joy of that was you have a chance to be starting with something new, as you said, kind of creating your own position and making something happen with your degree and what you're studying. That was in April of 2008. And since then, 2 tree planting programs. One for the United States has raised, do you know the recent numbers on this, Alexia?
I don't.
I think the recent numbers were $8 million for planting trees in the ground. And in 2011, I was tapping into that internship and starting it with Tree Canada. Those numbers are now $700,000. It's a smaller market, but this is money of people who rent a truck and they're renting the cheapest truck possible to move. And the screen says, do you want to donate $2 to plant some trees to help offset your moving emissions? So people just putting in $2, $3 at a time. It's made such a huge difference over the years to reforest where there were forest fires, or to restore wetlands, or to just help put more urban greenery in our cities. So again, the next question in the chat, the Q&A is talking about what is a value of a career into sustainability and is it fulfilling? So on my part, to know that this wasn't some big philanthropist writing big checks to plant trees in the ground. These were people renting the cheapest truck possible who had a way to just put in $2 or $3 and collectively make a huge difference. So what kind of values do you see with this career that you have in sustainability?
There has never been a day where I didn't feel like my work was valued or creating value that I could actually see. So it's the reason I get up every day and continue to work hard and continue to push for our community, even in personal projects. I'm having a hard time thinking of specific examples, but I do feel that this work is very fulfilling. I have never had any regrets about choosing sustainability. It's one of the most fulfilling careers I think you can have out there at the moment.
And does that include when we do have some setbacks, if there's a different political climate or if there's just a different approach or way of thinking, how do you ride through that?
Great question. There's a great book out there that addresses like the 7 principles of success when you're working in the corporate sustainability world. And definitely 2 of those are persistence and patience. So it's the real world. You're not always going to find people that agree with you or immediately jump on board to your plan. I always treat those situations with kindness and I am persistent. And I keep trying to reinforce my programs or initiatives with concrete facts. And, there's a lot of research behind them to prove that they are what I say they're going to do. And so when I go in to pitch something, I have a lot of confidence behind it. And that certainly helps. Things change in the world. We're not always going to have the same political climate. That's one of the beauties of living in a democracy. Things change. And so, yeah, you do ride that out and you just do the best you can, and you're patient and persistent.
Excellent. Now I have a very current question that's coming through from our attendees. How has COVID-19 impacted your career and sustainability in Phoenix or in the US as a whole?
Okay, that's a great question. Certainly there was that period of time where it slowed down, where it kind of seemed like the whole world was in a lockdown. Just things had to stop. People couldn't be out renting trucks and trailers for my job. They couldn't be going to their storage unit. Everybody was encouraged to stay home. So it slowed down. And then I thought it might slow down more permanently, but I did not find that to be true. I have been very lucky that in Phoenix and working for Uhaul, it's an essential service. So people still need mobility. They need the possibility to move residences and move businesses, even in times of recession or kind of a health crisis, so be it. But I did not find that my work slowed down permanently. It was a slow lull, and it's picked back up tremendously. I think, there's just a lot of growth right now happening, whether that's for businesses trying to reimagine or people moving or getting the opportunity to invest in property right now. So there's a lot of growth happening locally. Nationally, we are being cautious with spending large sums of money on sustainability projects, but we have not stopped altogether. So caution, but not, our budget hasn't been constricted completely. So we're still doing sustainability projects. There's still a need for my position and for Uhaul to be doing these things for our communities. That doesn't stop because of health crisis.
At the moment, I don't see any new questions. I'll just jump ahead real quick to show how we have the advantages of careers in global futures. In the United States, only about 25% of people actually have a job that relates to what they studied in school. And through the global futures, that number is 72%. We're 3 times the national average in terms of being able to actually use what you learned in school. I think part of that is just that it's all so up to date. Alexia, did you see that in your classes where, it's like when COVID happened for students in March, suddenly as professors, we were putting in stuff about how it disrupted the food system and the effects of it, right?
Definitely. I mean, there's things I learned about, it's been almost 6 years now since I graduated, that are still relevant today. I'm still plugging into new projects for you all and drawing on that knowledge from 6 years ago. So that's quite amazing.
And of course, the School of Sustainability and School for the Future Innovation of Society is looking at everything through that transdisciplinary view. What would an engineer do? What would a business person do? What would a social scientist do? What would a scientist? What would a policy and governance maker do to help solve this problem? And these are complex problems that, students are studying, but we give that real world experience, which you just spoke to, your capstone and your internships. And when you graduated and got your diploma, you already had a resume built, correct?
That's correct. Definitely.
And your resume included all of the clubs and the work that you did networking with other people and volunteering, right?
Yes.
That's important. So definitely be tracking that. If those of you that are still in high school, if you're doing volunteer work, or make sure you're keeping track of it and building up a resume of the experiences that you have from that. ASU itself is 5th in the world out of 766 institutions working towards the Sustainable Development Goals. These were set forth by the United Nations, and they address everything such as poverty and hunger and health and education. And countries set targets that they wanted to meet by the year 2030. So they're only 10 years away from hitting their targets, or maybe they'll come a little short. And even if they do, they've made great progress getting towards there. And your work at Uhaul, Alexia, what you were just talking about, Goal number 11 of having more sustainable cities and communities. You're doing that with the farmers markets and all these great public transit and your adaptive reuse program. That's helping economies of cities because that vacant, abandoned building is now a productive tax revenue generating business. So the work you're doing is already helping with the city of Phoenix to be meeting some of these sustainable development goals. By the way, we're number 1 in the United States as the Arizona State University, and only 3 universities even got into that top 100 in the world. So very cool that, that experience is there and waiting. And this is just a handful of companies where alumni work. Ta-da! You see Uhaul right there. In fact, the corporate sustainability team at Uhaul is currently, I believe, 6 people, and 4 of them started as interns. So it's really a great way. A lot of the jobs that you see here, companies, those were internships where students said, oh, I love working here. United Nations, that was one of the interns, and now that student is working at the United Nations. It's kind of a way to get to know a corporate culture and the type of work, and it's like window shopping, so that when they offer you a job, you say, yeah, absolutely, or you say, no, this isn't what I'm really interested in, but I love this experience. So this just speaks to that variety of work that's out there. These are retail jobs and transportation. There's government jobs. There's financial companies. There's utility companies. There's nonprofits. And of course, the happiest place on earth. Would you say that's Uhaul or Disney?
It's a toss-up.
It's a toss-up. So then this is just a map of how the College of Global Futures plays out. And of course, you can see this on the website. There's currently 5 different bachelor's degrees within the College of Global Futures, 3 of them within the School of Sustainability. And Alexia, was yours a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science degree?
It was a Bachelor of Arts. The track was called Sustainable Urban Dynamics.
Perfect. And then, of course, with School of the Future of Innovation and Society, there's also Bachelor of Arts and Bachelors of Science. And we always encourage you is to find that path that's of most interest to you. Kind of take a look at the classes. You can go to the website and see what classes are required for each of those 5 bachelors, and whichever classes seem exciting to you. By the way, thank you, Alexia, for recommending classes that were meaningful for you, because that's really good to have. For the College of Global Futures, Colin and I are happy to answer any questions you have. You can take a screenshot of this and reach out to us at any time. Alexia provided her contact information as well, or if you didn't take a screenshot, then you're welcome to come back to it. So thank you so much for attending. Alexia, you're fantastic as always. Students, thank you for spending time. We know that you're living online these days and it's probably driving you nuts. So we appreciate that you spent some time with us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Have a beautiful rest of the day and a great weekend.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.